The Druids are accustomed to be absent from war, nor together with the rest do they pay tributes, or that should be accusative. And they have immunity and a vacation, like of the military and of all matters. So of all matters of the military, so they don't participate in any kind of military affairs. So they don't ever have to fight. It's kind of nice to be a druid. Incited by these rewards and by their own volition or by their own will, many into the discipline come together. So many go into the study of being a druid, and by their parents and by their relatives they are sent. There are a great number of verses they are said to learn. So they are said to learn a great number of verses, and sometimes, or not sometimes, but and some, for 20 years in the discipline remain. Nor do they think it to be right to commit these things to letters or in letters, or to write them down in letters. Maybe you could do that as an optional dative as well. Although, so cum concessive, if you see the footnote, although in remaining matters, on almost all remaining matters, both public and private reasonings, they use Greek letters. Remember, utor is a deponent that takes an ablative. This, to me, for concerning two reasons, seems to have been instituted, because neither into the crowd or into the kind of common people do they wish to be carried away the discipline. So they don't wish the study to be carried away into the common people. If you wrote it down, anyone could learn it. Nor those who learn having entrusted themselves to letters to be less eager. This should be for memory, so to be less eager for memory. Because, let's see, nearly to all, or almost to all, or for the most part to all, it happens that by the aid of letters, like as in using books, diligence in learning and memory they lose or they send away. So if you use books, you use letters, you don't learn as well, and you become less zealous for learning because you think you can look things up. In the first places, they wish to persuade this thing, amongst first things they wish to in first things they wish to persuade this. Not souls not to perish, so we get a bunch of accusative infinitive constructions here, but from some after death to cross to others, so they believe in kind of reincarnation. And by this thing, most greatly to virtue, they think to be excited. So they think that people are excited to virtue by this idea of the reincarnation, with the fear of death having been neglected. So with the fear of death having been neglected, an ablative absolute there. So they think that if there is a reincarnation, then you would not be afraid to die. Many things besides concerning the stars and the motion of them, concerning the magnitude or the size of the earth and of the lands, like of countries, concerning the nature of things, concerning the power of the immortal gods and concerning the power of the immortal gods, they dispute and they give to the youth. Another kind is of the cavalry. These, when there is a need, or when there is a need and some war arises, which nearly before the arrival of Caesar, yearly was accustomed to happen, with the result that either they would carry in injuries, or the ones they having borne, they would push back. So both they would fight other people and then they would also try to push back attacks that they were receiving. All are turned in war. All may turn in war. Let's see, verse. So yeah, so all are turned in war, and each of them is I guess in each of them, or whichever one of them is most ample in kind and with troops, thus very much around themselves vassals and clients they have. So whichever one has the most troops and everything else, they surround themselves with more and more vassals and clients. This thing alone, this grace and power alone, they know, or they knew. So that this is the only thing that they care about, the cavalry. So they the nation all the nation of the Gauls is like ad modum is like up to the mode, but like up to the point are so dedicated to religious things that because of that reason, those who are affected with grave diseases and those who in battles and in dangers are being turned, are dealing with, engaged in as a deponent, okay, either on behalf of the victims they sacrifice men, or as victims they sacrifice like real humans, or they vow themselves about to sacrifice. So they vow themselves about to sacrifice. So, or they vow that they will sacrifice, the way we'd say this. And as administrators to those sacrifices, the Druids are used, because on behalf of the life of a man, nothing except the life of a man should be given back. So like basically an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, living man's life for a living man's life. So if you want to be cured of your disease, then offer a living man. But I'm not saying to actually do that, just that's what they did. Not to be... Okay, so what do they think? They think the divine power of the gods, of the immortal gods, not to be able to be pacified or placated, and they publicly have instituted sacrifices of the same sort. So they do this as a publicly instituted sacrifice as well. Others have statues or like images or things that look similar with a huge magnitude, of whom the woven limbs, and what are they woven from? From wicker work, or from like those thin little branches like baskets. They fill with live men. So they fill up, you saw the picture in the beginning of book 6, they fill up these huge structures with living people, with which things having been lit on fire, surrounded with a flame, the men die, like they're sold out, but they're sold ex animantur, so they are killed. The sacrifices or supplications of them who in, I think this is in theft, or in robbery, or in another crime may be comprehended, they think more pleasing to the immortal gods to be. But when there's the abundance of that kind is lacking, so when there's not criminals available, or when there aren't criminals available to be sacrificed, even to the sacrificing of innocents, they descend. Pretty scary.